The autumn wind whispered secrets through the empty streets of Brooklyn as Evelyn Carter made her way home from work. The chill in the air wasn't just from the weather. Something about tonight felt different, heavier. Maybe it was the dark clouds hovering above, or maybe it was the way her heart had been feeling lately, hollow, lost. It had been 2 years since Mark, the love of her life, walked away without a proper goodbye. 2 years since she had spent endless nights wondering where things had gone wrong. The breakup had been sudden, unexpected, and left an open wound she had barely begun to heal. Evelyn had tried to move on, but the past had a cruel way of clinging to her. As she turned the corner onto her street, she noticed a figure standing near her apartment building. A man, tall and dressed in a long dark coat, stood under the dim street lamp. He wasn't looking at her, yet there was something unsettling about his presence. Evelyn hesitated for a moment before continuing forward, her pulse quickening. Just as she reached her building's entrance, the man turned his head slightly. "Evelyn Carter," he said softly, as though he had known her forever. Evelyn froze. "Excuse me. I've been waiting for you." His voice was calm, almost too calm. She stepped back, her instincts screaming at her to leave, but something in his eyes, an unsettling familiarity, kept her rooted in place. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice firmer now. The man took a slow step forward and smiled, a smile that sent a shiver down her spine. "I know everything about you." Evelyn's breath hitched. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" The man shook his head. "No joke. I know about the night you sat alone in your apartment, crying over a love that ended without an answer. I know about the way you clench your fists when you remember him. And I know that no matter how hard you try, you still look for Mark in every stranger's face." Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest. "How do you know that?" she whispered, barely able to get the words out. The man took another step forward, close enough now that she could see his piercing blue eyes, eyes that held an eerie knowledge. "Because, Evelyn, I know your story. I know the truth you were never given." The world around her seemed to tilt. She wanted to run, to scream, to demand answers. But the way he spoke, the way he knew, made her stay. "What truth?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The man's expression softened, as if he could feel the pain she had buried. "Mark didn't leave you because he stopped loving you. He left because he had no choice." A sharp breath escaped her lips. "What do you mean?" The man hesitated before saying, "Come with me, and I'll show you." Evelyn knew she should refuse. Every instinct told her not to trust the stranger, but there was something about him, something undeniable. Against all reason, she nodded. They walked in silence until they reached an old cafe at the edge of the city. The place was nearly empty, save for a woman behind the counter who didn't even glance their way. The man led her to a booth in the back and slid a small envelope across the table toward her. Evelyn stared at it. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The envelope was old, worn, and had her name written on it in handwriting she recognized instantly. Mark's. Her heart pounded as she tore it open, revealing a letter inside. As she read, the air around her seemed to vanish. My dearest Evelyn, if you're reading this, then you've found the man I entrusted with our truth. I never wanted to leave you, but I had no choice. The people who came for me, they threatened you. They made it clear that if I stayed, you would suffer. I couldn't let that happen. I need you to know that every day I've been gone, I have loved you. I have searched for a way back, but the danger never passed. You were always my home, Evelyn, always. Don't look for me. Please, just be safe. Love again. Be happy. Yours always, Mark. Tears blurred her vision as she finished the letter. The weight of it, the truth of it, crushed her chest. She looked up at the stranger, her voice barely holding steady. Where is he? The man's face was unreadable. He's alive, but he's in hiding. Evelyn shook her head. That's not enough. I need to see him. I need to. You can't. The man interrupted. Not yet, but I can help you get there. She searched his face for any sign of deception, but all she found was certainty. A new fire ignited in her chest, one that burned with hope and fear all at once. And just like that, Evelyn Carter's world shifted. She had spent 2 years grieving a ghost, but now she had a mission. She had a reason to believe again, and she wasn't going to stop until she uncovered the full truth. The man, who called himself Adrian, revealed more as they sat in the cafe. He had known Mark for years before Evelyn had even met him. He had been part of a world Mark had kept hidden from her, a world filled with shadows, secrets, and people who would go to extreme lengths to keep their dealings under wraps. As Adrian spoke, Evelyn realized the danger wasn't just in the past. It was still very present. If Mark had stayed, she might have been hurt. Or worse. Adrian explained that Mark had been forced into a life he never wanted, blackmailed by those who had power over him. Leaving Evelyn was the only way to ensure herself safety. But now things were shifting. There was a way for Mark to return, but it wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be safe. Evelyn clenched the letter in her hands, her mind racing. For the first time in 2 years, she felt alive. Afraid? Yes, but also determined. She looked Adrian in the eyes. Tell me what I need to do. Adrian nodded as if he had expected this answer. Then let's begin. And with that, Evelyn stepped into a world she had never known. A world where love and danger intertwined, and where her destiny was only just beginning to unfold. What followed was a series of covert meetings, cryptic messages, and unraveling the network that had taken Mark away. Evelyn found herself caught between fear and exhilaration as she navigated this new world. She learned skills she never thought she'd need: how to read coded messages, how to disappear into a crowd, and how to tell when she was being followed. With Adrian's guidance, she traced Mark's last known location to an abandoned safe house outside the city. But getting there was just the beginning. Someone else was watching. Someone who didn't want her to find him. As the walls of conspiracy closed in, Evelyn realized she wasn't just searching for Mark anymore. She was fighting to survive. The deeper she went, the more dangerous the truth became. And when she finally came face to face with the man who had orchestrated Mark's disappearance, she knew one thing: she would stop at nothing to bring him home.